Are you ever threatened? How much money do you get on average for a case? Do you also get paid for cases you fail?
I can say that 99% of men cheat on their wives. You'll have to suffer at the field. This job is learned through suffering.
In the new episode of Can't Ask, we are with Hakan Kara. He is a detective. Hello, Hakan.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you ready to answer the questions our followers asked?
As ready as I can be, I suppose.
Can you tell us about yourself?
I am Hakan Kara. I'm 39 years old. I have been doing this job for about 12, 13 years. I left Kastamonu and came to Istanbul. I started doing this job in Istanbul with love. Then I got married and my wife also started doing this job. We do this job together. We have a team. We are going through a great time with our team. I can say that.
How did you first decide to become a detective?
Both of my parents were civil servants. Normally, I wouldn't have any chance of being involved in this kind of work. No one around me would expect this from me. I didn't decide to become a detective at first. I saw a newspaper ad. It said there was a wife tracing service. The guy put a phone number underneath. We called it just for fun. He was asking for good money. We decided to do it. We placed an ad. There weren't so many ads on the internet back then. There were more people who read newspapers. Someone called for the ad. We made a good amount of money. In 2004, I was able to buy a Renault Broadway car with the money from this business. Then I thought about how to make this job professional and what I could do. There was a department at Kocaeli University called Investigative Research and Surveillance. I transferred to this department. I was studying business administration. I quit it. Then I worked in a private detective firm for 2 years. I learned the legal details of the job. That is, what I can do and what I cannot do. Then we started our own company and continued this business. I can say it this way.
Who is a detective and what does a detective do?
The definition of detective is different in every country. I will answer this as a private detective, because what we call detectives are public officials working in law enforcement. A private detective is a person who does research professionally and does it for a fee in our country. We are careful not to do anything against the law in this regard. We can call them professional investigators.
Is private detective work legal in Turkey?
Since there is no law, it is neither legal nor illegal. It was said that there were law proposals and the law would be enacted. But unfortunately, since there is no law on this, anyone can do it. Right now, when you make an application to a tax office, you can start your company immediately. There are no requirements, no legal procedure. So a high school graduate or a university graduate or a master's degree graduate can start it. But I would at least prefer to have someone in the management team who is either an expert in this field or has graduated from a 4-year university, because you also want to be recognized. You want your professional identity to be officially recognized. But right now we are like a tradesman who only pays his taxes.
Does your close circle know your job?
My close circle knows that I do this job. At first, no one took me seriously when I told them. They said it was a one-day whim. Years later, even during my marriage and after my marriage, I continued to face problems. The bride's family also had doubts. They wondered what I actually do as a profession. Then everyone accepted me. They became interested in my profession. They started asking me questions like, how do you do it?
What's the difference between a private detective and a police detective?
Now, a police detective is a civil servant. He has to handle every case. He has to examine every file that comes before him. We work for a fee, and we look at any file we want. We have the luxury of choosing our cases. We aren't magicians. We can't say we can solve everything. We do research. We agree with our client. We do the work we can do. We choose the job. The client chooses us. But a normal detective who is a member of the police already has a file in front of him and starts working with that file. Law enforcement officers can't choose files.
Do you work in cooperation with the police?
We always cooperate with the police. If there is a violation of the law, we report it directly to the police. For example, if someone is having a relationship with a girl under the age of 18, we call the police and we take great pains to prevent the person from escaping. We do everything to keep that person there. For example, he took the girl from the university. We thought that she was over 18 years old, but later we found out that she was a minor. The next time he met her, we directly intervened and blocked his car. We absolutely did not let him get out of his car. It was a mountainous area. We called the police. They took the necessary action. We gave the pictures we took to the police. There was the evidence of the affair.
What are the majority of the cases you receive?
As everyone can guess, spousal stalking is always the number one case we receive because we can use it as evidence in divorce cases. This has now turned into a commercial thing. People don't get divorced because they want to live separately from their spouses. There are people who get divorced because they want to get compensation. In fact, there are people who pray for their spouses to cheat so that they can get compensation. The most common case is divorce.
How do people get in contact with you?
We have a website. They can get in contact with us through our website. There are law firms we work with. They can reach us through these law firms. And over time, since the people around us know that we are doing this profession, when they encounter such a situation, they say, let's meet with a private detective. We tell them what we can do and what we cannot do. We try our best to guide them. That's how they get in contact with us.
What is the most difficult case you have solved so far?
What is the most difficult case? Children cases are very important for us. I mean, the mother has custody, she is abroad, the father has kidnapped her to Turkey. Finding them is difficult for us emotionally, but when we experience that moment, when we bring the mother and the children together, we realize that it's worth any kind of fatigue. This one was the hardest. It took 3.5 months to find the child. The reason why it took so long is this. The relative in Turkey was on the father's side. He was giving information to the father. The person who was always asking us, can't you find him, was already informing the other side about what we were doing. Financially, I can tell you about this one case. There was a theft case in the Muğla region. There were certain suspects in this theft case. There were camera recordings in the file. One person was identified because of a limp with his hand. He climbed the building and reached the second floor, and it was visible on the footage. He was a potential customer, a potential thief. We were asked to find something by following this person. But the place was very small. It was impossible for us because when you parked on the street, people could tell you were a stranger. Then we did some research on this man, what he was doing as a profession, etc. By finding his weaknesses, we somehow met the man and made friends with him. We ate, drank, and entertained this man for at least 2 months. Of course, he didn't know who we were. We became friends. We made him drink and talk. He told us that the thief was his brother and that he was hired by his brother. He told that the theft was done by the brother of the customer who hired us. But it is impossible to document this and make our customer accept it. When we told this to our customer, of course, he didn't believe it at first. He was a bit of a religious man. He asked me for a hoja. He wanted him to confirm it. He gave the hoja 3 times as much money as I got. The hoja described the man, and 4 or 5 months passed. I bought gasoline from the man. There was a gas station. I said, "What did you do?" He said something like, "How can I tell my brother that he is stealing from me?"
Is there a training process for being a detective? Can anyone become a detective?
Anyone can become a detective, but not everyone can do the job. This job is really, first, you have to know the law very well. You have to know your limits. If you say you can go further, you will be arrested every 3 to 5 months for doing illegal services. Secondly, you learn this job in the field. You have to be cold-blooded, you have to be ready, and you have to be able to adapt. You have to know what to do and where. It's not like what's written in those books, like do this, do that, or like in the movies where you jump out of windows. You have to be completely natural, adapt to the environment, and be ready to respond. You can't learn this in 2 days. You have to go out on the field. It is learned through suffering.
How much money do you get from a case on average?
Let's call it a 1-week stalking. The fee for stalking starts from 8,000 liras. Apart from that, there are address verifications. These start from 2,000 to 3,000 liras. Missing person cases are much more costly. The conditions are evaluated, the budget is determined, then a proposal is made. If they accept, the job is done. In some cases, the fees can be high, but if they want to get the job done, they must agree to it because we will have certain costs and we also have to make money. We make money from this business. Sometimes they call us, they want information, or they say, "Can you do this?" We say yes. They say, "Don't you do it for free?" We aren't a public institution.
What's the most money you've ever made from a single case so far?
The most I have earned from a case is 150,000 liras, and we earned it in 3 separate installments. But since our client was aware of the costs, the money was given knowingly. It was a foreign investigation. The man robbed a company abroad, defrauded it, fled to Turkey, and settled in Turkey. That man was also wanted by Interpol. We had to spend a lot of money to reach this man. He also had people who were looking out for him.
What was the most interesting event you experienced?
One of our clients, a person who came to us, asked us to track his wife. We said, okay, we tracked his wife. There was nothing on his wife. We followed her for about 10 days. We told our customer, this is how it is. There is nothing. We gave him the information, her whereabouts. The gentleman thanked me and left. 2 days passed. A number called me. She said, you followed me. You were really good. I never noticed you. I knew from my husband's phone that you were following. Now I want you to track my husband. We couldn't say no, but we didn't accept it either. She came the next day. We talked about the details. We said this and that. We said, not right now, because I'm trying not to take the job. 3 days later, the gentleman called. He said, I know my wife wanted to have me followed. It turns out that the two of them communicate and coordinate to have each other followed. I encountered such a case. Of course, we didn't track the wife. For example, one of our customers came to us. She was living separately from her husband. She asked us for her husband's address. We found the address successfully and gave it to the lady. 2-3 months passed. She came again. She said, are you sure this is correct? We said, we are sure. We have proofs. We said, why do you think it's wrong? Her fortune teller told her that he was living with someone else. She cast a spell on him, but he didn't come back. She asked if it is correct. So the fortune teller's spell is right, but our address is wrong. My advice to everyone is not to take on anyone's guilt until you see something concrete yourself. We also get some people who pose as psychics. We frequently receive proposals where they say, I'll refer a case to you, and in exchange, I'll take a commission from you. Unless you see clear evidence, don't start suspecting people or blaming them, because most of them are baseless.
What are some of the tools you use on the job?
Professional cameras and special devices with night vision are commonly used in our job. Apart from that, everyone knows about pen cameras, hidden cameras, cameras worn on collars. These kinds of cameras are used. In general, we always use visual sources, but we never use audio recording devices. I can say that. It is against the law to record your voice. I can shoot in a public place, but I can't record your speech. That would cause me trouble. So you can think of it like this. Why don't we use a voice recorder? Let's consider tabloid journalists. They may film outside the bar, take photos or whatever, but they never share the conversations that happen at the table. A conversation is a person's private life, but you can shoot anyone outside in public. You're on holiday taking a picture. It's not illegal if a couple of people in the background end up in the shot. It is a public space, but if you take a photo of a hotel room, that's a crime. Because it is a private room, because a person has rented it. It's like that. I can only shoot in public places.
How many people does it take to solve a case?
5 people work on a standard case. 2 of these detectives who are working on the case have to be women. 2 of them are motorcycle riders. These are faster in Istanbul traffic for surveillance and getting from one place to another. There are always 2 people on motorcycles.
Is detective work mysterious and action-packed like in the movies?
Detective work is nothing like in the movies. It's more tiring, more boring. I mean, let me tell you this. Everyone sees it in movies. They are always full of action. However, sometimes you stay in a car for 18 hours. You fulfill all your needs in that car. Right now, for example, even if it's 40, 45 degrees, you have to wait in that car until the evening. At times, you wait until midnight. One little mistake can cost you everything. Your waiting there would be useless. Physically, let me put it this way. I don't think I can do this job in the field after the age of 50, 55. It is a job that wears you out because of the needs and its physical nature. Both your brain and body stay active. You are physically very tired. You are inside the car all day. You have to wait all the time. You have to watch the same spot. You can't look away. You can't talk about anything. You can't watch something. You will look at that spot you have to see when someone comes out of that door. It is a job based entirely on attention. Or let me give you an example. When I first started working, we were monitoring a gas station. Those guys were transferring gas from LPG tanks into regular household cylinders. I sat on top of a mountain for a week to shoot these. It's not like in movies where a detective barges in somewhere, raids a place, or causes chaos. There's no such thing. We need to be realistic. Among my staff, for example, I don't employ single people. They have to be married because they have to be responsible so that they don't let me down later on. A single person can say, "I'm bored," and leave me halfway through.
What do you do when you catch a criminal?
We inform the police directly. We are not authorized to take any action. I watch him until the police arrive. I do everything I can to keep him there, so it ends up with the police. I've also told my clients in my investigations that if I come across anything illegal during my research, I'll report it directly to the police without asking them first. If he is using drugs, I report it directly to the police. My work may end there. But if there is an illegal transaction involved there, it is not work for me anymore. I mean, we can even call it a civic duty in general. It is always reported.
Have you ever been caught while stalking?
I was caught once at the place where I used to work. We were given a case. There were three of us stalking. The person left Üsküdar, came to Kadıköy, picked up some people. Then we started to go slowly towards Pendik, very smoothly. There is no problem. We stopped in front of the courthouse. I became suspicious when we stopped there. Two of them stayed in the car. One of them was watching us from the sidewalk. Finally, I couldn't stand it. I realized that we had been spotted. I went up to the person. He said, "Why have you been following me since I left my house?" I said, "I work for a private detective firm. So this job was given to me." I said, "I make money from this job." Since he was aware he was under surveillance and mentioned it began from his house, he had taken photos of us. I have no chance to deny it. I will get in trouble when I deny it, when he shares the photos. He asked me to name the firm, but I said I'd lose my job. He said, "Is my spouse the one having me followed?" I said, "I don't know." Then he talked a little bit about his wife. I listened to him. He told me crying. I told him about my situation. I cried. We established a bit of an emotional bond. Then he sent me away. I later learned that the individual's father was employed in intelligence and that they were vigilant about such matters. That was a big lesson for me. I would never blindly agree to do a job for a certain amount of money without knowing who the person is. So, to put it simply, this was one of the reasons why I opened my own firm.
Are you ever threatened?
I haven't encountered such a thing yet, but I can say this. After the end of a work I successfully completed, a lady told her husband my name. Her husband called me. We get half of the money in advance and the other half at the end of the work. He said, "Come to my office to collect your money." They did something like that. I didn't go. To be frank, why should I get into trouble?
What percentage of people cheat in infidelity cases?
I'd say 99% of men cheat on their wives, and 60% of women cheat because men are more likely to cheat. Women usually do their own work first. They come to us knowing something. Men are not like that. For example, when a woman doesn't answer her phone once, he gets suspicious. He can't talk to anyone around. He can't ask if his wife is cheating on him. He comes directly and asks for our service. But women usually look into things, discuss with their friends, and only after that do they take action. Anyway, our female customers usually come with 2 or 3 people. They come with their friends. They have already solved the case. We only need to take a video. But men are not like that. Men usually come to resolve a minor suspicion.
What's the hardest aspect of your job?
You inevitably form an emotional bond with people. They reveal their most private things to you. You cannot hurt their feelings. You can't simply brush them off after the job. You eventually have to comfort them because I can't simply say, "I captured the video, here it is," and wish them farewell. According to their psychology at that moment, I tell them what to do and what not to do, and I try to calm them down. In other words, I tell them not to look back at what they've been through, but to focus on being happy from now on. We have to talk and we have to establish a friendly relationship because we get the most intimate information about people. Therefore, we have to be more emotional towards them.
Was there a case you couldn't solve?
There have been many, because we are not magicians after all. There are certain things we simply can't control. Let me give you an example. We were going to find two children. We found many details about these two children. We found them in Ederne or here and there. We always found traces during the time they were missing. Lastly, we found a trace in Aden Didim. But due to both bureaucratic reasons and some mishaps, these people fled to Greece illegally in front of our eyes. I can give this as an example. It was not something that was only under my control. I can't find people just like that. But I do everything I can in order to find them. And when I find someone in a missing person case, I need police support. I can't just grab someone and tell that person to sit there and wait for the police. I inform the police, they come and take them. If the police don't do anything, I can't do anything.
Do you also get paid for unsuccessful cases?
My expenses are paid. As I said before, I get some of the money at the beginning of the work and some at the end. I use the initial payment I get for some of the expenses. Even if I incur a loss, I can't ask for payment if I haven't succeeded. Or some people don't like the work. Let me give an example. We watch someone constantly, but there's nothing there. They say, "You're lying. My fortune teller told me he's cheating. My agreement relies on the evidence."
Have you ever followed someone famous?
Of course I have. In fact, what disappoints me about these individuals is that upon seeing some of their real-life actions, I actually ended up stopping watching them or following them.
Do you use a gun?
Now let's clarify this. A private detective does not take action by showing their ID everywhere like in the movies. In Turkey, a private detective has to do their job as naturally and unnoticed as possible. One must not reveal their profession. I am against using guns because even the calmest person can do something at any moment with their gun. Someone might accidentally shoot a person while threatening to fire into the air. I don't carry a gun and I don't need it.